Hello everyone, welcome to English Literature, yet another chapter from the book Footprints Without Feet, chapter number 4. Let us see what the chapter is. Today's topic, A Question of Trust by Victor Canning. For any piece of work, it is important to know about the creator. The author, Victor Canning, was a prolific British writer of novels and thrillers who flourished in the 1950s, 1960s and the 1970s. He was personally reticent, writing no memoirs and giving relatively few newspaper interviews. He was a shy writer. He is known for his mystery and adventure fiction, and he masterfully blended crime, humor and irony in this particular tale about a locksmith who robs safes to buy rare books. That is A Question of Trust. He was born on 16th June 1911, Plymouth, United Kingdom. He died on 21st February 1986, United Kingdom. He was born to Fred Canning and May Gould. Some of his famous books are The Runaways, Mr. Finchley Goes to Paris, The Whip Hand. Awards: the Rainbow Pattern was awarded the Crime Writers Association or CWS Silver Dagger in 1973 and nominated for an Edgar Award in 1974. So born in Plymouth, and he was awarded the Crime Writers Association CWS Silver Dagger Award for The Rainbow Pattern in the year 1973 and was nominated for the Edgar Award in 1974. This is all about the author Victor Canning. Before any reading in detail, it is very important to know the introduction. The short story, A Question of Trust by Victor Canning, was published in 1950. The story revolves around Horace Tanby, a seemingly respectable locksmith who is also a thief. He meticulously plans and executes annual robberies to fund his passion for rare books. The central idea of the story. The story revolves or explores the themes of deception, trust, and the irony of one's perceived honesty being used against them. The story demonstrates that one cannot judge a person's honesty based on their looks or demeanor, and even within a criminal context, trust can be fragile and misplaced, so appearances are deceptive. Horace's downfall is a direct result of his misplaced trust in a cunning woman, showing that even the dishonest can fall victim to their own methods and that there's no guarantee of honor among thieves. So the story has a few things to cover, like appearances are deceptive, trust issues and perceived honesty, and that even the thieves can fall victim to deceit. So this is the theme of the story. It's time to read the chapter with explanation. Everyone thought that Horace Tanby was a good, honest citizen. He was about 50 years old and unmarried, and he lived with a housekeeper who worried over his health. In fact, he was usually very well and happy except for attacks of hay fever in summer. He made locks and was successful enough at his business to have 2 helpers. So Horace Tanby, who is the protagonist of the story A Question of Trust, this is characterization. It is said that he was good and an honest citizen. He was 50 years old, unmarried, and he lived with a house help who worried about his health, took care of him. In fact, he was usually very well and happy except for attacks of hay fever in summer. So he just had a problem with allergy due to pollen dust, which caused irritation of nose and eyes, thereby leading to watery nose, running nose. He made locks and was successful enough at his business to have 2 helpers. So this first paragraph gives you the character sketch of Horace Danby. Yes, Horace Danby was good and respectable, but not completely honest. Now this is a twist. It is said that yes, Horace is good, respectable, but not completely honest. 15 years ago, Horace had served his first and only sentence in prison library. He loved rare, expensive books, so he robbed a safe every year. Each year he planned carefully just what he would do, stole enough to last for 12 months, and secretly bought the books he loved through an agent. So Horace, when you read by and by, as you read, you come to know a lot of things about Horace Danby. Everything that you learn here will help you write the character sketch of this person. 15 years ago, so it is said he was not completely honest because he had been to prison. He had served his sentence where in the prison library, and he had love for rare and expensive books. He robbed a safe. Why? Just to steal enough so that he could buy books, and he used to buy those books with the money he stole. Now, walking in the bright July sunshine, he felt sure that this year's robbery was going to be as successful as all the others. So this time also he is going to rob someone. If you remember earlier, he always robs, steals enough to last for a year, 12 months. Now this is the other year, beginning of the next year, when he decided to rob someone, and he is very sure that it will be as successful as the previous robberies. For 2 weeks he had been studying the house at Shotover Grange. So he had been studying. So there's a particular target, he has seen it, and he is keeping a watch. He is looking at his rooms, its electric wiring, paths, and its garden. Remember, he didn't enter yet. So he was looking, he was gathering information about the. So Horace was keeping a watch on Shotover Grange. That's a country house with a farm and all. What was he looking at? The rooms. He was gathering information about it. For how many? For 2 weeks he has kept a complete watch over it. This afternoon, the 2 servants who remained in the Grange while the family was in London had gone to the movies. So the Grange is now without owner. The owner is. So the family was in London, had gone to movies. The servants had gone to movies. The family. The afternoon, the 2 servants who remained in the Grange while the family was in London had gone to the movies. Now the owner is not there, he is in London. Servants left the house for movies. Now Horace saw them go. He felt very happy in spite of a little tickle of hay fever in his nose. So he had a little allergic reaction, but he was all the way very happy to see them leave. He came out from behind the garden wall, his tools carefully packed in a bag on his back. So he was ready with his tools. He is a thief. He is going to steal someone, to break the locks and all. He needs his tools. So there were about 15,000 pounds worth of jewels in the Grange safe. If he sold them one by one, he expected to get at least 5,000, enough to make him happy for another year. There were 3 very interesting books coming up for sale in the autumn. So there were about 15,000 pounds of jewels in the Grange safe. So in the cottage there is a safe where there are 15,000 pounds, and he says the jewelry worth 15,000 pounds. If he would sell them, then he will get at least 5,000, because he cannot get the actual price. He is a thief. And he says that much money will be enough to last for another year. And why does he want to get the money? Because there are 3 interesting books, very interesting books coming up for sale, and he wants to buy them. Now he would get the money he wanted to buy them. So now he will get the money he wanted to buy them. How? By stealing the jewels and selling them. He had seen the housekeeper hang the key to the kitchen door on a hook outside. So we already know he had kept a watch, and he marked the house help hang the key where? To the kitchen door on a hook outside. So there was a peg, he had hung the key there. He put on a pair of gloves, took the key, opened the door. He was always careful not to leave any fingerprints. Buy something, some expensive books. How can he? If he sells the jewelry, he will get at least 5,000 pounds, which will last for the year. So just imagine if we convert it to pounds, because 1 pound is equal to 118.41 rupees. So it's a lot of money. Now he would get the money he wanted to buy them, and he also marked the servant keep the hang near the kitchen door on a hook. So he put on because he was a thief, not to leave fingerprints. It's very important you have gloves on. He took the key, opened the door, and was very, very, very careful, always cautious not to leave the fingerprints. That is why it is also mentioned here about the gloves. Now he is in the house, inside the house. A small dog was lying in the kitchen. It stirred, made a noise, moved its tail in a friendly way. So there was a dog lying. He entered the house through the kitchen door, and there was a dog lying there. It did move, made a noise, but it was not aggressive. "All right, Sherry," Horace said as he passed. All you had to do to keep dogs quiet was to call them by their right names and show them love. So he says the trick to calm any dog is to call them by their correct name and show them affection. So he knows. So now we also know the name of the dog was Sherry. He says, "All right, Sherry." The safe was in the drawing room behind a rather poor painting. Horace wondered for a moment whether he should collect pictures instead of books, but they took up too much room. In a small house, books were better. So it was a big house, rich people. When the safe was in the drawing room behind the safe was behind a painting. We have seen many places, you must have found it is hidden. So Horace wondered for a moment. When he entered the drawing room, he saw the painting and he just had a funny thought, why not collect pictures instead of books? But then he says, no, it's not possible, because pictures will take a lot of space, too much room. In a small house, books were better. So he stayed somewhere and he says the area is not much, so books are better. There was a great bowl of flowers on the table, and Horace Horace felt his nose tickle. If you remember, he has hay fever, allergic to pollen dust from flowers. So, and he felt it, the nose tickle. He gave a little sneeze and then put down his bag. He carefully arranged his tools. He had 4 hours before the servants returned. So, in order to execute his plan of robbery, breaking the safe and taking the jewelry, he had only 4 hours with him. And while he entered the garden wall, there was an idea that he did have a ticklish nose. He had hay fever, pollen dust, flowers. Now in the room also there was a bowl where there were flowers, and the flowers made him sneeze. But he carefully arranged his tools. The safe was not going to be hard to open. Now he was a locksmith at the same time, and he was very professional. He says it's not very difficult to open the safe. After all, he had lived with locks and safes all his life. The burglar alarm was poorly built. So the alarm that was meant to chase a burglar or to alert the people was poorly built. He went into the hall to cut his wire. He came back and sneezed loudly as the smell of flowers came to him again. So whenever he was close to flowers, he had that sneezing problem, the allergic reaction. What all information we get here? that he entered the kitchen. There was a dog. We knew the name of the dog is Sherry. And he went to the drawing room where he knew there is the safe behind a picture painting. After looking at the painting, Horace said, why not collect pictures? Then he says, no, it's not possible because pictures take a lot of room. Books are better in a small house. And there was another bowl of flowers which made him sneeze because he has hay fever. And he was ready to break the safe. And he had an idea that breaking the safe will not be difficult. We already have the information that he was a locksmith, and he had also collected information about the burglar alarm, and he cut the wires. He came back and again he sneezed. How foolish people are when they owe valuable things, Horace thought. So Horace thought, oh, people are so foolish when they own valuable things. How foolish people are when they own valuable things. So when they possess valuable things, they become very foolish. Why? His remark is because a magazine article had described this house, giving a plan of all the rooms and the picture of this room. The writer had even mentioned that the painting hid a safe. So how did he gather information? He had never entered the house before, but he knew about the safe behind the painting. Why? Because he had gathered information from a magazine. And he says rich people are foolish. Why? They publicize everything. There are pictures. They told everything about the house, the construction, the formation, the benefits of having that house. The writer had even mentioned the safe. So that there is a hidden safe in the room behind a painting was also mentioned in the magazine. And nowadays people always are ready to go public. They want to expose everything. Now there are so many disadvantages also. For instance, in this case, Horace, a thief, he gathered information from where? From the magazine. So now he knows about the house. But Horace found that the flowers were hindering him in his work. So the flowers were obstructing him in his work. How? He buried his face in his handkerchief. We already know he had an allergy to the dust, flower. And so it kept on obstructing his work. So he buried his face in his handkerchief. It made him sneeze. Then he heard a voice say from the doorway. So suddenly he heard a voice. What did they say? What is it? A cold or hay fever? Before he could think, Horace said hay fever and found himself sneezing again. So Horace didn't even remember. Till now he knows nobody is in the house. And he is concerned with the robbery. He has concentrated. His mind is occupied with it. Suddenly when he began to sneeze, there was a voice. The voice asked, what is it? A cold? And without thinking, without a thought, Horace said, no, hay fever. And started sneezing again. The voice went on, you can cure it with a special treatment, If you find out just what plant gives you the disease, I think you'd better see a doctor if you are serious about your work. I heard you from the top of the house just now. So the voice said that, oh, see, it's curable. You just have to find out the flower. We already know that hay flower is an allergic reaction caused due to the pollen dust from flowers. So the voice said, see, you can cure yourself if you just find out that what is the plant that bothers you. And he says, I think you should see a doctor. Why? Because if you are serious about your work. Now mark these lines. You'd better see a doctor if you are serious about your work. Serious about your work. What work? The thing that he was doing. He was there to rob. I heard you from the top of the house just now. And the voice said, hey, see, you're too loud. I heard you from the top of the house. It was a quiet, kindly voice, but one with firmness in it. A woman was standing in the doorway, and Sherry was rubbing against her. She was young, quite pretty, and was dressed in red. She walked to the fireplace and straightened the ornaments there. So now we have a second character here, a lady in red dress. She was young. Here also you get characteristic about the lady. What was it? She was young, she was pretty, and she is dressed in red, and she was having the dog standing beside, which means she is familiar to the dog. She could be the owner. The lady says, "Down, Sherry. Anyone would think that I had been away for a month." She smiled at Horace and went on, "However, I came back just in time, though I didn't expect to meet a burglar." So in a very mocking tone she says, "Wow." And she's very relaxed also. See, she looks at the dog and said, "Sherry, quiet." And then she said, "You're so clingy, as if I have been away for a month." And looking at Horace, she said, "Oh, see, but I'm just in time, and I never thought I would meet a burglar." Horace had some hope because she seemed to be amused at meeting him. He might avoid trouble if he treated her the right way. Now Horace, though he was scared, but he had a little hope. Why? Because he saw the lady smile, which is maybe she is friendly, and if he keeps good behavior, maybe he could leave without trouble. He replied, "I didn't expect to meet one of the family." Now Horace knew the family is out in London. So he is also very shocked, and he said, "I didn't expect to meet one of the family." "I see, what an inconvenience it is for you to meet me. What are you going to do?" So the lady said, "Oh, I see. So it's a trouble that you see me now. So what do you plan to do?" Horace says, "My first thought was to run." So Horace said, "The first thing that comes into my mind is to run." "Of course you would do that. But I could telephone the police, tell them all about you. They would get you at once." "So of course you could do that. But I would telephone the police, tell them all about you. They would get you at once." Now the lady says, yes, why not? You can run. But then I'll call the police and tell them, and they will catch you." Horace, "I would of course cut the telephone wires first." And then he hesitated, a smile on his face. "I would make sure that you could do nothing for some time. A few hours would be enough." So Horace said, see, he is not very violent. If you remember, Horace is not said to be a cruel thief. It is said he is honest, though not completely honest, and he loves books. So he is not a murderer. Now Horace said, "I would cut the telephone wires first when the lady says I will call the police." And then he says, "But I'm sure that nothing will happen. A few hours would be enough." So he said that I would make sure that you could do nothing. See, Horace said, I will make sure that I cut the wires of the telephone, and yes, I will make sure that you will not be able to call the police or anybody else." She looked at him seriously. "You'd hurt me?" Horace, "I think I was trying to frighten you when I said that." "You didn't frighten me." So Horace said, I'll make sure you're able to call nobody, and I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm just trying to scare you." And the lady said very firmly, "You didn't scare me." So far we know that the lady is confident, she is firm, and she has a little sense of humor. Now Horace suggested, "It would be nice if you would forget you ever saw me. Let me go." Now see, Horace asked the lady to let him go. The voice was suddenly sharp. Now the lady is sharp, and she says firmly, "Why should I? You were going to rob me. If I let you go, you'll only rob someone else. Society must be protected from men like you." So the lady says, "Why should I allow you to go? You were here to rob me, and if I allow you to leave, you will rob somebody else. So society should be protected from men like you, from thieves and murderers." Horace, "I am not a man who threatens society. I steal only from those who have a lot of money. I steal for a very good reason, and I hate the thought of prison. So Look how funny it is. Horace is justifying his robbing people. He says, I'm not a man who threatens society. So I'm not a threat. I don't frighten, I don't kill people. I steal from those who have a lot of money. So I only steal from those who are rich enough, who can afford. And I steal for a good reason. It's not that I steal for something wrong, some illegal thing. I steal for a good reason. And I don't want to go to prison. We all know what the reason is. What is the reason? To buy rare, expensive books. Now the lady laughs and he begs. So lady is smiling, he is begging, thinking that he had persuaded her. Now Horace had a little hope. He quite knows that he can persuade the lady to let him go. Now Horace, look, I have no right to ask you for anything, but I am desperate. Let me go. And I promise never to do this kind of thing again. I really mean it. So Horace said, see, I cannot force you to do anything, but please help me. Let me go. And I promise I will not. Now Horace said, see, I don't have any right. I am a thief. I entered your house. You are the owner. You find me. And you have full right to call the police. But I don't have any other option. I am helpless. I am hopeless. Please let me go, and I will never do this again. She was silent and watching him closely. Then she said, you are really afraid of going to prison, aren't you? So she said, oh, I see. So you are really afraid of going to prison, aren't you? She came over to him shaking her head. I've always liked the wrong kind of people. So she comes close to the thief, to Horace, and she says, see, I've always liked the wrong kind of people. She picked up a silver box from the table and took a cigar from it. Horace, eager to please her and seeing that she might help him, took off his gloves and gave her a cigarette lighter. So, now saying this, the lady picked a silver box from table and took out a cigarette from it. Horace was ready to impress the lady so that the lady would let him go, and he took off his gloves and offered her a lighter. You let me go. Remember, he took off his gloves and offered the lighter. You let me go. He held the lighter towards her. So he said that, I'm sure you will let me go, right? Yes, but only if you will do something for me. Anything you say. Now the lady said, see, I will allow you to leave only if you do something. So I have something for you. You do it and I will allow you to go. And the lady says, before we left for London, I promised my husband to take my jewels to our bank, but I left them here in the safe. I want to wear them to a party tonight. So I came down to get them. So the lady says, see, before we left for London. So that means she is not in London now. She is there. And she says, before we left, I promised my husband. So I told my husband, see, I will take my jewels to our bank. So I'll take the jewelry to bank. But then I left them in the safe. And I have to wear them to a party tonight. So I came down to get them. So I was in my room. I came here to get the jewelry so that I could wear it to a party. Horace. Before the lady could complete, Horace said, oh, you have forgotten the numbers to open the safe, haven't you? Yes, replied the young lady. So, earlier we see the young lady says, yes, I will let you go only if you do me a favor. And Horace said, yes, I will do whatever you say. Now the lady asked him, before we left for London, I promised my husband to take my jewels to our bank, but I left them here in the safe. I wanted to wear them to a party tonight, so I came down to get them, but so they have returned from London, and she forgot all about the jewelry and the bank, and now she needs it, and so she wants to get them. But before she could complete, Horace interrupted and said, oh, you have forgotten the numbers to open the safe, haven't you? And the lady said, yes. Just leave it to me and you will have them within an hour, but I'll have to break your safe. So Horace said, see, don't worry, but I will have to break it open. I'll have to break the safe and you give me only an hour for that. The lady, don't worry about that. My husband won't be here for a month and I'll have the safe mended by that time. So the lady says, oh, you don't worry about breaking and all. My husband will not come here so soon, so he will not be here sooner. I'll get it repaired. Within an hour, Horace had opened the safe, given her the jewels, and gone happily away. So Horace did his task. He opened the safe, gave her the jewels, and left. Remember, all this time he is having no gloves on. He had removed his gloves while offering a cigarette lighter to the lady, and the lady had asked him to do her a favor. What is it? She had not. The jewelry is in the safe, and she has to wear them to a party. And when Horace said, "Oh, you have forgotten," she said, "Yes." Now Horace said, "Don't worry, I will help you with the jewelry, but I will have to break the safe." And the lady says, "You do your task, don't worry, my husband will not be here for a month, I will get the safe repaired." Now the safe is broken, the jewelry is out. So handing over the jewels, Horace left the place. For 2 days he kept his promise. What was the promise? That he will not repeat, he will not rob any other safe. So he kept his promise to the kind young lady, the lady in red. On the morning of the 3rd day, however, he thought of the books he wanted, and he knew he would have to look for another safe. So he is into books, he loves books, and there were 3 books coming up next week, and he wanted them. To have them, he needs money, and he couldn't wait anymore. But he never got a chance to begin his plan. By noon, a policeman had arrested him for the jewel robbery at Shotover Grange. Now he had decided to rob a safe after 2 days, but he was not able to execute. Why? Because by noon he was caught by the police. Caught for what? For the robbery at Shotover Grange, where he had met a lady. Now his fingerprints, for he had opened the safe without gloves, were all over the room, and no one believed him when he said that the wife of the owner of the house had asked him to open the safe for her. If you remember, he had removed his gloves while offering a cigarette lighter, and after that only he opened the safe. So his fingerprints were everywhere, and police caught him because of his fingerprints. And when Horace narrated the story of how he had helped the owner of the house, the wife of the owner, it was very funny. Why? The wife herself, a grey-haired, sharp-tongued woman of 60, said the story was nonsense. So here we know that the owner of the house had a wife who was old. She was not young, and maybe the lady whom he met in the house was not at all the owner's wife. Horace is now the assistant librarian in the prison. Though for fate's sake he is still in the library, an assistant librarian in the prison, he often thinks of the charming, clever young lady who was in the same profession as he was and who tricked him. So Horace realized that the lady who he met in the house was none other but a thief like him. And Horace gets very angry when someone talks about honesty or honor among thieves. That is, even in the group of lawless people also, there are some ethics to be followed. And he becomes very, very angry when someone says, "Oh, see, even criminals have ethics." You know, in the whole story, there's only one thing. Horace got caught because of one problem. What is it? Although he gathered information about the house and all, he did not gather information about the people of the house. Otherwise, he would have recognized the lady. But because he knew nothing about the owners or the people who live in the house, he got in the trick. So the trickster was tricked by a lady. This is all about the story. Let's see. Horace would not have been caught had he been more careful, removing gloves and not gathering much knowledge about the people in the family. So there is no room for error if you are in a profession like burglary and all. Let's see some of the word meanings. First one, respectable, that is regarded with respect or honorable. Hay fever is an allergy causing sneezing and watery eyes typically in response to pollen from flowers, that is the pollen dust. Rare, uncommon or scarce, robbed, stole from. Grange is nothing but a country house with farm buildings attached. Jewels, precious stones or ornaments. Stirred, moved slightly. Sneeze, sudden expel air from nose and mouth due to irritation. Ach, that is sneeze. Burglar alarm, a security device that detects unauthorized entry. Hindering is creating difficulties for or obstructing. Ornaments, decorative objects. Inconvenience, trouble or difficulty. Hesitated, paused before saying or doing something. Persuaded, convinced someone to do something. Desperate, feeling or showing a hopeless sense that a situation is so bad as to be impossible to deal with. Eager is to strongly want to do or have something. Mended, repaired. Profession, a paid occupation, especially one that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification. It is just the opposite of amateur, which is just for a hobby, but here you get paid. Profession. Tricked, deceived or cheated. Honor, that is high respect and esteem. We have some more words here. Meticulous is showing great attention to detail or very careful and precise. Faltered is lost strength or momentum. Housekeeper, a person employed to manage a household. Sentence, a punishment given by a judge in court. Agent, a person who acts on behalf of another. Wiring is the system of wires providing electricity in a building. Fingerprints, the impression of a fingertip on a surface. You all know nowadays fingerprints are obvious justification of a criminal's or a person's presence at a place, and fingerprints do not match. It differs from person to person. Tickle is a light itchy sensation. Servants, people employed to work in a household or housemaids. You can have burglar, house help servants. Burglar, a person who enters a building illegally to steal. Drawing room, a room in a house where visitors may be entertained. Handkerchief, a square of cloth for wiping the nose or eyes. Culprit, a person responsible for a crime or other misdeed. Firmness, the state of being solid, stable or strong. Sharp-tongued, inclined to make cutting, sarcastic remarks. Nonsense, foolish or meaningless words or actions. Subtle, so delicate or precise as to be difficult to analyze or describe. Apt, appropriate or suitable in the circumstances. Excusable, able to be forgiven or justified. This story has justified the theme how appearances are deceptive. For more such videos, keep watching the channel. Thank you.